系统上升，几级上升。 花园要重做。哦，就是我不要嘉年华，你不要，原来新消息是嘉年华，去你的！我要 POE2 的POE2 的新资料 ，POE2 的新影片，没有人在乎。我要 POE2 的新资料、新资讯。
Now that we're getting close to release, we will finally be ready to announce the date that the closed beta starts at Exalted 2023. We're holding ExileCon 2023 in Auckland, New Zealand, on the weekend of the 29th
我以为7月29号 上 POE2。
In addition to the beta start date, we'll also be announcing everything there is to know about new game systems, character classes, items, and.
我以为7月29号，结果7月29号上嘉年华。
And Path of Exile Mobile. See all the presentations live, meet our development team, hang out with their favorite.
还要再1年哦，还要再1年才可以知道贝塔测试日期哪时候。救命啊！谁来救我们 POE 玩家啊？
Exile, you have wandered far to arrive at the shores of my lake. A hidden realm I have overseen for longer than time itself. These waters harbor deadly secrets.
我很抱歉，这画质本来就那么差吗？ 登录才可以看。哦，干又是追忆2.0。哎，这个桌游很像，如果你有玩过的话，这个很像泡利亚特兰提斯。看怎么看起来就是追忆，4颗全新技能保持，这什么？这什么？ 14件全新传奇，诈欺师升华重做 ，BB 他用 BB，100件，有没有注意？有没有注意？我没看到。几级？
The lake calls you, exile. Will you endure, or will you drown?
Presents an encounter that you must defeat when you next travel to the lake.
又是一个传送到新地方，然后会花很多时间的。
Once you have assigned a reflection to every location on your mirror tablet, which will take a few areas, you can open a portal to the Lake of Calandra itself.
又是一个把你传到其他地方的。
There you will get to experience these reflections of Rayclast as Calandra manifests each encounter you have chosen. But as you push farther out onto the lake-shrouded waters, you will find each encounter to be more difficult, but more rewarding. This difficulty value counts up by 1 for each location away from the entrance the encounter is.
这跟人跟分裂一样，越远越好。
Players wanting the best rewards will try to engineer tablets that have long, windy strings of encounters, reaching very high difficulty values by the end. To do this, there are occasional options that can be chosen which allow you to move and swap the entrance, reflections, and water tiles on the tablet.
换来换去的，要看奖励如何。
Once you reach maps, you'll be able to itemize your mirrored tablets so that they don't have to be played immediately. They can be stored for later or traded with other players.
这个开起来的东西就赤练大师那个嘛，就赤练大师那种嘛。
There are many types of rewards you can find. Certain reflections grant you access to a new variation on rare items, exclusive to the Calandra Challenge League. When you complete the encounter, you'll get access to some reflecting mist, which presents you with a difficult choice. It generates a rare ring or amulet with an unusual set of mods. Some are very high, and some are very negative.
负78电抗，然后加28冰霜伤害。哦，它会反过来，它会反过来。 他们的正面负面会反过来。
Mods are scaled up by is based on the difficulty of the encounter you just completed. You may only pick one of these items to keep. Item where the negative mods aren't downsides for your build, and the juiced up positive mods are very attractive. There are also some special new jewelry base types that you can rarely receive from this process. It allows you to bring your own amulet, distorting and reflecting it with the same process described before. The mods are scaled up in value and some are randomly negated. It will certainly be tempting to gamble with some of your best jewelry to try to double the values that really matter for your build and negate the ones you don't care about. If you're very lucky, you may find a special League-exclusive unique ring at the lake. Calandra's touch mirrors the effect of your other ring. 不是，他直接把你的另外一个戒指反射过来，所以你另外一个戒指戴什么，他就戴什么。数值是什么就是什么。 Calandra expansion also contains a new unique map that I'm quite excited about.
试炼大师回归了。
This boss from Ultimatum, and more importantly, the unique items he drops, have been sorely missed and will be making a return to the Lake of Calandra. This map can be created by completing difficult endgame Val content. We have not forgotten about the rest of Ultimatum and for how it will return in the future. Whenever we're improving Path of Exile's endgame, we take every opportunity we can to add new variations of rewards. We don't want to say too much about how these are acquired, but in this expansion, it's possible to very rarely find special foil versions of any pinnacle boss unique item. These have the same stats as regular ones, but are certain to be highly prized by collectors.
数值跟一般的一样，在靠北。我想说奇怪，数值有变吗？我刚刚认真在看数值有变吗？
The Lake of Calandra expansion
数值就一样，你他妈。
In addition to the Calandra's touch ring, the first was showing you
噬魂者
Ascension, a pair of gloves designed by
Lideron 设计了
They drop from the Uber element.
手铐拿噬魂者
Soul Eater is a very powerful buff.
击中敌人拿到噬魂者
This unique grants you the ability to gain
击中传奇敌人拿到噬魂者
at a unique enemy, but also makes you lose those stacks if you aren't near one. Ghost unique, which allows you to play as an almost pure energy shield character during early parts of the campaign. We'll reveal the
这个直接把 ES 撑爆了，就直接让你早期就可以玩 ES 了。
unique items in its core drop pool, over 700 in fact. We feel that there are two big
你们也知道
unique items. The first is that you
你发现了
and the second is that they are generally pretty useless when you do.
你们发现了
Sure, there are some powerful endgame or build enabling uniques that feel amazing to find, but the majority of unique items found throughout the game.
天哪，我们都不知道没想到哇！
In the Lake of Calandra expansion, we have made a lot of changes here.
注意！有速离者跟那个火灵。
unique items, with an emphasis on uniques in the core drop pool, including leveling uniques and some endgame uniques. You're going to find unique items less frequently now, but when you do, they're going to be a lot more punchy. 战法，这个有战法。 Changed from the ground up. With the new design, it's a lot more elegant and delivers on this goal by simply damage and the effect, so that your weapon damage is added to your spells.
可是战法拿单手有用吗
？Thousand Ribbons is an example of an item where we merely
boring， 这个就是把数值全部调1倍。数值全部调1倍 ，boring。
Showcases that well. If you find a high roll，
哈哈哈，最后很长一段时间不会换掉，哈哈哈哈哈，真的，哈哈哈。
Malachi's Simula was
法术有28几率造成双倍伤害。
This was meant to be special because the blood magic keystone was far
28更多嘛，但等于自带28更多嘛。
Unfortunately, this item wasn't really powerful enough to justify its use.
可是血魔法你要怎么用？血魔法你不开坚定哦，你血魔法是季节数哦，是季节数，对面的翻译季节数，你不开坚定哦，你什么都不开了。 阿吉呀，全新宝石来了，阿吉。
expansion includes 3 new skill gems and 1 new support gem. Alchemist's Mark
炼金师之印
ignite or poison create ground underneath them, based on the damage of the strongest ignite or poison on the enemy. The damage of the ground effects also scales with curse and mark effect, providing a non-standard way to scale damage.
爆炸剑没有死，爆炸剑没有死。
This new skill opens up an extra source of damage for
爆炸剑没有死
characters, especially for ignite builds that want an alternative to flame surge or poison builds that cause fewer higher damage poisons. This high-level build uses Flame Blast, with 100% of the damage converted to chaos, to inflict huge poisons on enemies. When Alchemist Mark is cast on an enemy first, that enemy drops caustic ground when it's poisoned, scaled by those big Flame Blast poison hits, melting everything into a puddle.
听起来超烂的，听起来超烂。
Galvanic Field is a new shock-themed
感电
spell.
场。
When used, you gain a buff, granting a small bonus chance to shock. When you next shock an enemy, the buff is consumed and the enemy becomes energized, repeatedly zapping themselves and nearby targets, a lot like ball lightning. If the energized enemy dies, then the energy sits at their location and continues to zap things. Galvanic Field's area of effect and zap scale with the strength of the target.
请给分。
While Galvanic Field is great for any build that shocks, you can even fully build around it, and use a skill with increased shock effectiveness like Arc to shock enemies and kill them with a ball of death. Lightning Conduit is another new shock-themed spell. A wave propagates out from the target location, causing lightning bolts to strike all shocked enemies in a large area.
啊，它只电击感电敌人，所以你要先感电敌人才可以用这招。
Lightning Conduit cannot itself shock and won't hit non-shocked enemies at all, so the challenge with this skill is to find a way to consistently apply powerful shocks to your targets to make the most of Lightning Conduit's high damage potential and area of effect. This high-level build uses Wave of Conviction to shock enemies, before casting Lightning Conduit until they're obliterated. For longer fights, it can employ Galvanic Field to create a constant source of lightning damage. Last but not least, Overcharge Support is a new support gem that causes supported skills to deal less damage.
造成更高的感电效果。拜托，这个拜托可以辅助召唤。
Overcharge lets many different lightning skills create powerful shocks. Use this to take advantage of Shock's large damage multiplier, or to activate Lightning Conduit and Galvanic Field.
拜托，这个可以辅助召啊！干没有新技能哦。
As Path of Exile expands, we often revisit previous leagues, reworking them so they stay relevant and engaging. In Lake of Calandra, we are targeting 3 Arch Nemesis.
他们不觉得太没诚意了吗？
The larger context here is that we've been re-examining what role rare and magic monsters have in Path of Exile. The introduction of Arch Nemesis modifiers as the monster mod pool prompted quite a lot of discussion about how often you should encounter rare and magic monsters, how difficult they should be to kill, and how rewarding their deaths should be.
这其实改弱吧？这改弱吧？这改弱吧？我想要遇到精怪啊！我想要遇到精怪哦！干，你为什么要这样改？
During the campaign, you'll only encounter 1 and 2 mod rare monsters. The 2 mod encounters are a bit harder and have better drops. In maps, you'll stop encountering 1 mod rare monsters entirely, and will mostly encounter 2 and 3 mod rare monsters.
他们把稀有怪改强了，可是出现的几率变低了。
Not only are the innate
所
item
以
drop bonuses
考验你的打王能力了。 这更考验你的打王了。
Challenging encounters reward a corruptor mod. All of its drops
我
become
不要，我不要，你不要这样弄我，不要，不要全部腐化。
converts all of its item drops to maps.
掉一堆 T6 T5，对对对，
Rarity of its drops to
掉一堆
become
T6
graded by
T5。
1 tier. So magic becomes rare, rare becomes unique, and so on. If you're lucky, you can find these conversion modifiers on both the 3rd and 4th mod of a rare monster. This causes them to stack together. So if you kill a 4 mod rare monster with both the Entangler and Katava touched mods on it, its heavily juiced drops will also be converted to jewels with their rarity upgraded by a tier. Due to the high item rarity that 4 mod rare monsters have, this makes unique jewels dropping.
觉得这个改动如何？
This conversion system is fully compatible with your item rarity and quantity.
就是等于说之前的树离词的奖励套用到现在啦。
Going forward, we want to make sure that a lot more scale with your character item monsters can now
这是怎
occasionally
样？
drop
就是等于
currency items
那个卤锅的怪现在变超越的怪是吗？他们两个合并起来了。对啊，你看他现在会掉污染工匠石啊，会掉污染工匠石哎。
Rather than being presented with a selection of crafting options,
污染 C 跟污染工匠石又来了，污染连接也来了。
tradable life force of the appropriate color.
哦。 种子，种子，拜托，种子回来了。
Its crafting options are now priced in terms of this itemized life force currency.
种子回来了。
Tier 4 bosses are now encountered much more frequently and can drop a key to fight a Shabi. She yields special life force which can be used for a specific set of crafts.
哦，现在变成王喷的那个种子可以拿来做新的。
Some ones with deterministic outcomes that were incredibly RNG gated before. Some crafts that provided access to exclusive content, like the special offerings to the goddess, have been removed because these items can now be found in more appropriate locations elsewhere in the game. The result of these changes is that when you complete a harvest, you aren't presented with 30 crafts which must either be used immediately or unsafely traded to some player you found on a community Discord server. It also means that every bit of life force you receive is going towards a craft that you actually want to use on one of your items, when you're ready to use it. Your interaction with the Sacred Grove is now far simpler as well. Just enter, pick your plots, defeat the monsters, and get on with your mapping.
在家里自己做就好了。
Nemesis and beyond, we have also addressed the monster composition of Harvest's fights, so that it doesn't contain too many rare monster mods, and so that it is of appropriate difficulty for its rewards. In addition, the rewards for Harvest now scale with map quantity and pack size, incentivizing you to juice your maps. Previously, the crafts you received were not scaled up at all if you played a harder map.
做装做到吐，做装做到吐，大家做装做到吐了。
Character balance manifesto, which detailed the many changes we're making in Lake of Calandra. There are plenty more changes, which we will include in the full patch notes that will be posted after this live stream. But on this stream, I'd like to talk about a few specific areas: Minion Itemization, Exalted and Divine Orbs, and the Trickster Ascendancy class.
哎，召唤师，来。
Historically, minion builds have not been particularly reliant on the stats of their items. Most of the power of their minions came from their skill and support gems. This led to a few problems. Firstly, it gave them a bit of a free ride compared to most other characters. And secondly, it meant that it was hard for minion players to actually specialize their character to be really, really good. We want to solve both of these problems in this expansion. Path of Exile is a game about items, and that means that you will now be strongly rewarded for finding items that make your minions better. It also means that, like with other builds, if you find good items, you'll be far more damaging and survivable than before. We described a variety of minion changes in last week's character balance manifesto. Today I want to show you the new base item types we've added to help your minion itemization. We've added a new ring base type, the Bone Ring. This ring has implicit minion elemental resistances and can roll minion-related modifiers. We've added level 20 and 50 versions of the Convoking Wand, called the Calling Wand and Covening Wand respectively. Like the Convoking Wand, these new base types can roll minion-related modifiers.
Oh.
Some new minion-related mods have been added to the pool available to these wands, and some existing mods have been adjusted or made more common. We have repurposed the bone-themed spirit so that they have minion and can also roll minion-related mods.
这什么垃圾啦
Alongside the stable of existing unique items, there's now quite a lot more base
更多的机体可以支持召唤牛派角色
and good mods on those base types can stack up to some pretty large bonuses.
我怎么不穿潜能机？我要穿这个
I also wanted to discuss two of the rarest currency items in Path of Exile, Divine Orbs and Exalted Orbs. These actually have the same drop rate, but Exalted Orbs are worth so much more in trade because there's no easy vendor recipe for them, and because they're consumed when you craft certain meta mods onto items. Out of these two currency items, we would actually prefer the Divine Orb to be rarer, so that unique items with good rolls matter more, and so that players can exalt their items more frequently. We are making two changes that will impact this. Firstly, we are changing the cost of crafting meta mods so that they cost Divine Orbs rather than Exalted Orbs. Secondly, we are changing the 6-link vendor recipe to grant 20 Orbs of Fusing rather than a Divine Orb. This change will result in Exalted Orbs being far more available for crafting, and Divine Orbs less available for re-rolling mods on items. It'll certainly be interesting to see what the de facto trade currency becomes next league. About the Trickster Ascendancy class. We haven't been happy with the state of the Ascendancy class recently. While it used to be quite powerful, we moved its defining feature, Ghost Dance, onto the main passive skill tree. Since then, it has had a confused identity and hasn't met the power level of the other Ascendancy classes.
花园真的会超贵。
In this expansion, we have reworked the Trickster with a focus on establishing thematically appropriate defenses and ways to manipulate speed. One step ahead allows the Trickster to manipulate the enemy in an interesting way. Enemies are slower than normal and cannot have their action speed raised to value, such as through an acceleration shrine. Conversely, the Trickster is faster by default and cannot have action speed lowered below this value, effectively making them immune to effects that lower action speed such as freeze, chill, or temporal chains. Spellbreaker ties together spell suppression and energy shield in a powerful way. Spellbreaker some spells taken from spells. The skill also starts your energy shield recharge half the time you suppress spells.
伤害
characters tend to have a high evasion rating. You will be evading some hits.
我不否认快，我不否认8%很强，可是我觉得无聊，好吗？我觉得无聊。重点是无聊。
reducing the damage you take from suppressed spells while on full energy shield. For those that want a different way to recover energy shield, the powerful soul passive is no longer exclusive to forbidden jewels from the Uber-searing Exarch and Eater of Worlds. Any Trickster can now allocate this skill. Polymath provides more bonus damage, life, mana, and energy shield on kill for each different type of mastery you have allocated. It reinforces the idea of a Trickster being a jack of all trades, and will lead to interesting decisions when planning your passive tree, trying to fit in as many different types of masteries as possible. Overall, the new Trickster is intended to be Shadow's answer to the champion, but faster. He should be an exciting option for players who want to get a lot of evasion, energy shield, and recovery out of their Ascendancy class while still being able to melt enemies. Alongside today's livestream, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Knight and Rogue packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value upgrades, plus several exclusive transactions. These packs are only available during the collab and will leave the store forever in 3 months. Every microtransaction you're about to see is entirely cosmetic and does not affect your character's progression or power.
我给1，我给1分，我给0分。如果0分，我可以给我给0分。
Microtransactions, including the full Nightmaster armor.
如果有0分可以给我给0分。
The Etheric Mana Flask releases a burst.
我有史以来印象以来记得最糟的一次改版最糟的一次